How we doing there, boys and girls? Manthieus here. Welcome back to another video. So, I want to talk for a few minutes today about ingenuity. This is a new stat that we are seeing in the War Within. It is commonly being referred to as one of the replacements of inspiration, and I wanted to talk a little bit today on my thoughts about it. Depending on how I've titled and thumbnailed this video, I might have given it away already, but I'm not particularly impressed with it as a stat, and more importantly, I want to try and share some of my knowledge and share some of my findings around it to hopefully make it so that people don't make some mistakes with this. Many people, myself included, have spoken about ingenuity and concentration, the new resource that we have to play with as crafters in the War Within. Can actually have a little bit of a play with this on retail right now. Since we are in pre-patch, it's there, it's visible. You can have a little bit of a tinker of and with this. A lot of people, myself included, have made the likeliness of this, or compared the similarities, should I say, to inspiration. Inspiration is gone. Inspiration is removed. You will not find reference to it in the game, or at least you shouldn't do anymore. Inspiration for most of Dragonflight, for those that played it, will have been a constant battle for people. If you're good with maths and you enjoy spreadsheets and stuff, inspiration was a wonderful little tool to play with. And it was the ticket to make a lot of money, a lot of gold for people throughout most of Dragonflight. Not only noticeably at the very beginning, before people understood just how OP it was, but also towards the end, because if you were crafting things at a big enough scale, the randomness that was generated by inspiration could sort of be mathed out of the equation if you were pressing the button enough. And those that were good with the maths were able to get on the right side of RNG in that regard. Inspiration is gone though, and in place we've got concentration, we've got ingenuity. Concentration, to give people a very quick catch up in case you are relatively new to the channel or you're just playing catch up with what's going on in the War Within. Concentration is a resource that generates slowly over time. You have up to 1,000 of it available, and you can basically use it to fill the gap. Let's say you're not good enough to produce something at the quality you want in this scenario with a decorative lens. Well, I'm going to be using junk crafting for demonstration today. At this point in time, you can see if I wanted to make something at quality 3 here, using these materials and with my current level of expertise, I could throw 303 concentration at it, and it would make up the difference, right? It would say, okay, now you make it at quality 3. Great. Most people have kind of got that on board. Ingenuity is a complementary secondary stat in terms of the fact that it gives you that chance to have an ingenious breakthrough, and it gives you the chance to refund a percentage of your concentration. I think the percentage defaults at 50 for most professions. Some professions have the ability to up this number to increase that percentage all the way up to 100%. But what you should notice from that straight away is that it only works if you are using concentration. Ingenuity has no effect whatsoever unless you have also pressed this button. Now, the way that most crafting is looking to operate in the War Within is that your goal as a crafter is to push yourself as forward and as far forward and to become as skilled as possible and to get the best tools in order and to use the best quality materials. In fact, to push yourself to the point where you don't use concentration at all. If I was to swap this out for some quality 3 gemstones instead, you can see I've got all of my ducks in a row at this point, and I actually don't need to use any concentration by this point to guarantee something at quality 3. This instantly, straight away, fundamentally removes ingenuity as a stat for all intensive purposes. It can't give me any benefit. It can't refund me concentration if I don't use it. This for me puts ingenuity in an interesting position. It's a brand new stat. It has the illusion of being really important at the beginning. And I'm hoping that people don't make the mistake of investing too heavily into ingenuity, because eventually you might start to regret that decision. Because you can cross the finish line in the War Within, unlike what you could with Dragonflight, you can actually guarantee top quality things at quality 3. This goes for your intermediate reagents and even your gear crafting. You can now finally, quite comfortably, in many cases, guarantee things at either quality 3 if it's a reagent or 5 if it's a piece of gear. You couldn't do that in Dragonflight. You would always get so close to the finish line, but you couldn't quite cross the finish line, so you were always relying on inspiration, or you were doing some sweaty goblin things and stacking your racial, and then using the hidden skill value to give yourself an increased ratio of quality 3s over other people that weren't using these little tricks and tips. And it was messy. It was messy in Dragonflight, there's no questions about that. But Ingenuity is going to come in and it's going to look quite attractive to people for quite some time. And it's going to look attractive because many players are going to live in the world where maybe they haven't got all of their ducks in a row just yet. Maybe they've got, they've spent some time with their profession. Maybe they haven't got all of their tools and maybe they can't actually cross the finish line yet. And every single time they look to craft something, they're going to contemplate, should I be using concentration? This is where we have to dig a little bit deeper. This is where it's going to get a little bit mathy, and this is where it's going to get, it might fly over some of you, but this is what I like to do on the channel. I like to dive into these and break things down in as much detail as we can to find out exactly how these systems work behind the scenes. Because the more you understand about this, the more educated you are when it comes to making decisions in what direction you should spec and this sort of stuff. So, concentration, a little backstory for you. Concentration, when it was first implemented onto the beta, was relatively linear, meaning that every point of skill you increased closer to the recipe difficulty, your concentration went down. And every point you went up in skill, your concentration went down by a relatively similar number. What this usually meant is that if you were able to push the bar, you can see the bar's like 80% of the way here. If you were able to push the bar really close to the end, you fundamentally could get to the point where you were using tiny, 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 tiny amounts of concentration. We can sort of simulate that a little bit by sort of putting some of the tools back on. Let's maybe swap one of these out for a lower quality one, so that we do fall just under the recipe difficulty threshold here. Now what we can see is we don't quite meet the recipe difficulty. We are only 4 skill points away. We're really, really close to being able to guarantee quality 3. But look how much concentration we still need. We still need an absolute boatload of concentration if we want to make this at quality 3. In Dragonflight, we'd have used hidden skill value. In Dragonflight, we'd have relied on inspiration to cross that finish line for us, to do the heavy lifting for us. This time, even when you are so close to the finish line, you're gonna have to press that concentration button. This is why it's going to look really important to build up your ingenuity. And I worry it's going to fool a few people into making some mistakes. It's going to make it look like stacking your ingenuity as high and as far as you can get it is going to limit the amount of concentration you truly need and is going to be the best use of your knowledge points, the best use of your profession tools, the best use of your time and efforts. And I want to try and break that illusion that it's really not, because you only need to do a tiny little bit more to cross the finish line, and then ingenuity doesn't matter at all. You are 100% better off. I've found it nearly impossible to find a scenario where this rule doesn't apply. You are always, always, always better off putting points into resourcefulness or multicraft, if and as and where possible. This goes for your spec trees. We'll talk about the spec trees in a little bit, but it definitely goes for your tools up here. I am going to label this tool, where is it? This one, the Ingenuity tool with the Ingenuity enchant, is going to be foreknown as the meme tool, because this should not ever exist. You should probably never, ever, ever make this tool, because there's basically no point in this whatsoever. This is basically as good as having 0 stats on your tool, because by the time you get to the point where you're not using concentration to craft things, the 329 and the plus 120 ingenuity are giving you 0 benefits, absolutely nothing. In fact, it's costing you gold. The reason it's costing you gold is because you've got those secondary stats. You haven't got the better ones. In this scenario, you should probably have the multi-craft tool and the resourcefulness tool, because at least those are going to give you some tangible benefit every time you create a thing. Absolutely every time. Now, Manthieus, you might be screaming at the keyboard. What if you are in, min-max land and you are choosing to drop down your material quality? You've said this yourself. What if you are dropping down your material quality to save yourself price and you are still choosing to use concentration? Surely ingenuity is best to use in that scenario. No, it's still not. The math still doesn't play out, and this is because we are not able to stack enough ingenuity to get it to matter enough. Even with the full meme tool enabled, I, as a jewel crafter, can only push up to 27% ingenuity, meaning 27% of the time I will save half my concentration. So if I wanted to save enough concentration to be able to press that craft button one more time, it would need to proc twice. So realistically, that's actually only about a 13% chance for me to be able to press the button again. I would still, even in this scenario, be significantly better off stacking multi-craft, stacking resourcefulness on my tool. This is going to mean that I won't be able to press the craft button as many times. But every time I press it, it's going to be significantly cheaper than the other route. When the game goes live, fear not though, when the game goes live, I'm sure the wonderful dev who produces Craft Sim is going to update the add-on. In fact, I know categorically he's already working on it. He's going to update the Craft Sim add-on, and it's going to make it so that it will probably just tell you all of this. But of course, it can only tell you based upon what you give it. If you give it the wrong tool, there's nothing it can do about it. One thing to be super clear about, and I probably shouldn't have left this till the end of the video, to be fair, is that spending your knowledge points on ingenuity is a massive, massive, massive trap at the beginning of the expansion, and I really hope people don't fall into it. Many of the professions out there, ingenuity is just kind of sprinkled in. You have no choice but to get some of it when you play with them. But I wanted to showcase something like enchanting, where there is 100% a trap node. What they have done with enchanting, for example, is there is a single node here that fundamentally does basically nothing for you but give you more ingenuity. Do not put points in here. Do not put points in here until at the very least you filled the rest of the entire tree and have nowhere else to put points. Especially at the beginning of the expansion, when the quantity of knowledge points you're going to have access to is really, really limited. If anybody remembers the beginning of Dragonflight, you might have had 50, 100, 200 knowledge points, and you had to put a lot of time and a lot of effort to get those. And every extra knowledge point was important to you. And you were never able to refund them. Exact same story in the War Within. We're going to see the same scenario playing out once we go into the War Within. It's one of the more contentious aspects of the professions in Dragonflight, the fact that you could never reset your knowledge points or where you'd spent them. So once again, just got to be a little bit careful. So I'm hoping that this information will be useful to you. If you are enchanting, please, please, please don't put nodes in here, at least not until you've put them in the resourcefulness or the multi-craft nodes first, because they're secondary stats that are going to be way more valuable to you. And if you, on the first week, put 20 points in Immaculate Ingenuity because you were like, oh, I remember back at the beginning of Dragonflight, all those people that put points in Inspiration, they made a shitload of gold. Maybe, I'll put all my points in here. It'll be the same thing all over again. Unfortunately, it's not the case. So please be careful. Please be careful. If you want to discuss this in a little bit more detail, please by all means use the comment section down below, or I'm going to throw the shameless promo out there. Come join the Discord. Jump in the Discord at the moment. There's loads of chatter day by day about all things coming, the War Within, all things goal making. And if I'm going to shell out a little bit, I should probably also remind everybody that my Goblin Guide to the War Within. Oh, hello, what's my Windows doing? The Goblin Guide to the War Within is now fully up and running. 99% done for the launch of the expansion, and this is available to my Patreon. So there's a link in the description down below if you want to check it out. Some 300 plus pages of everything you might need to know about goblineering in the War Within. But boys and girls, I will leave it there for today. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it. These are more discussion-based videos. There will be a handful of these over the next few days and weeks as we creep closer to the launch of the expansion. But I want to try and get as many people as possible caught up to speed because I've wasted ungodly amounts of time on the beta, and hopefully if I can impart some of this knowledge, you won't have to do the same. We can all make a bunch of gold at the beginning of the expansion and have a blast. But enjoy the rest of your day. Give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Consider subscribing if you're new around here, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.